It's time for the MVP, and it will be Arrow. Arrowed out of 12, 3, and 12 performance, 75% kill contribution, 472 GPM, and that puts him up with the likes of Faker and Score at 200 points.
Now, Someday to me was the man of the match. You'll see some amazing plays for him, but Arrow, this is what he did both games. Great cleanup job around the backside as Lucian. They're really justifying the early rotation Lucian picks because KT, both from a wave clear perspective and other series, and just in terms of pure damage this series, they're making it work.
Yeah, he was untouched. Now, a lot of that was some fantastic initiation by Hachani and Someday. Take a look at some of Arrow's play again. This was the big team fight for him. Nice flash.
This is where he skips behind the front line, just gets the assassination onto Prey. Won on this fight, because on the other side was much more even fight between front lines, and he was healthy, he lived, and he could outscale.
That was such a good team fight from KT. Every aspect, really. The taunt from Hachani into the ultimate onto Arrow after the setup from Someday.
This is KT in the late game. This is the one fight where we actually see in the backline a big initiation play from Fly. He had all that flight ability power. And Menela, an Arrow skips around. Smeb shows up late. And that means that it's another one-team fight, and this would be the game for KT Rolster.
Yeah, they finally are able to take Smeb down last. Arrow doesn't want any part of getting eaten, turns around, dashes back in to help out with a bit of damage there at the end. So a close game. The Tigers holding on for a surprisingly long time. And there's Arrow giving you the staro. And they got Fifth Dragon twice in that game to stop KT. They got Baron, but in the end, it just wasn't quite enough. Almost epic comeback, courtesy of the Tigers.
Look, if we learned anything from the 2015 season, it's get those 4 dragons, get the Baron control, and the fight comes to you. And because you have to keep fighting at that 5th dragon every 6 minutes, you might mess up one team fight, you might mess up 2, but a strong team fighting team like KT eventually got the initiation they won, and they won the game from it because ROX Tigers had to fight without fail every 6 minutes.
They did. So game 1 over to the Tigers. Game 2 taken by KT. Both Tahm Kench picks losing tonight.
Tahm Kench, I mean, Duke also lost with it the end of last week to Jin Air, so Tahm Kench, for once, starting to fall away. Purely a top laner at this point, not much Tahm Kench support.
I mean, Smeb did do pretty damn well on that Tahm Kench in spite of the deficit.
I don't remember anything.
Okay. The loss is all that matters, right?
It's all about the crosses and noughts, Monte Cristo. You either win or you lose. Loop is the best top laner in the world.
Okay, great. Glad we got that out of the way. So Quinn banned for the 3rd game consecutively by KT.
So they don't have a plan to play around all the pressure that Quinn provides. Smeb already showed that, and even yesterday, Trace with his Ignite top Quinn. Pressure, pressure, pressure.
So mix up in the draft this time. TF banned by KT, who didn't play very well against the TF Global Pressure in the first game, and it was last picked by the Tigers.
I mean, that's the full mid lane matchup, just to fate Lux. Both of them banned away, so trying to move players away. I'm still waiting for the Ziggs from Fly. He talks up in big game, he plays it on stream. I know it's a really risky proposition, hoping for Ziggs and champions, because the track record definitely a bit iffy when it comes to game times, and KT already takes it late.
Yeah, they do, and it's been a late game series for the most part already tonight. So KT, last ban now. They banned Quinn, Kalista, and Ryze in game 1. They did not take the Kalista. Kalista not taken by anybody in game number 2 in spite of that ban.
They're expecting the Ryze ban to finishing off. Ryze has been 100% pick ban. We've actually only seen 1 pick. It's only got through once, and it was a victory. So the Ryze premium has certainly been very, very high, but ROX are really waiting to the last minute to make their decision.
Well, Corki has been their ban, but they're going to leave up either Ryze or Corki or both. Kindred, not an option for KT.
With so much available, where will KT go with their priorities? Score is an excellent Elise player, but Corki has, as you mentioned, been the big ban.
It has been, and it's honestly come as a bit of a surprise, considering that it hasn't been a priority, but the Ryze seems more likely for KT and their split-pushing shenanigans. Corki, Elise.
Instant answer.
Instant answer. Indeed. So now Score is going to have to play a new jungler for the first time this season. He has only played Elise and Kindred so far.
Tracking back his play, of course, excellent control jungler. He was always very, very strong at the Rek'Sai. So Rek'Sai, given how popular she's been this season, would be an understandable pick, especially when you're dealing with Ryze, who in early laning phase going to reach the ire, whether he's top or mid of the enemy jungler. So the information that you get from Rek'Sai always been super, super important, and just amplified when you have some of these more weaker laners that are privy to the turret dives.
Lucian would be no shock once more as KT continues to put a lot of emphasis on that particular AD carry.
And will Fly just be on Victor duty, or will we actually be seeing the mid lane Ryze come through? I guess that's a question we'll find out in the last rotation, though. Rek'Sai, again, expected jungle pick here for Score, but a pivot from the more damage-focused junglers he's been focusing on this season.
Yep, so Rek'Sai for the first time for Score, Lucian once again for Arrow, and now we are going to see what exactly Rocks have up their sleeve. They have a flex pick in that Corki. We've seen it mid, we've seen it AD carry. Operates very well in either of those positions.
Sandra certainly wasn't a cornerstone of the game plan from KT, but has definitely been one of the big champions given the flex pick nature of these drafts. So frequently have we seen it only last rotation that the roles for champions comes through, just given how many multiple role flex pick champions exist. Varus being hovered over. Probably be a mid lane Varus if we were to see it.
Could go for a big poke composition. They have Alistar and Elise for disengage.
Kuro is a noted mid Varus player,
Yes, he
so
is.
that makes sense. I'd be surprised to see anything other than Varus in the mid lane. The unique thing about Varus is that he has AD poke that does line wave damage, so he can wave clear and poke AD-wise. And between Corki and Varus, that's massive mixed damage poke.
Well, and as you like to point out, there was the change on 6-1, which makes Varus a more interesting pick.
Yes, so with the change to the Masteries, the Storm Raiders Surge with the 75% slow resistance, every time you get that 30% damage, which of course is the usual poke from a couple of AD item Varus, when you're charging up your next Q, you won't be slowed, self-slowed. So the self-slow is actually the relevant one there. So Storm Raider Surge will be the likely Keystone Mastery pickup from Varus.
Yeah, so it's the first time we are going to see this pick this season. Kennen, another strong disengaged champion to round out their poke composition.
KT, they've gone for the Lissandra. The moment you see Varus, you expect him mid. Lissandra's one of the best champions to get him there, lock him down. It's going to draw out cleanse you'd expect. Now, when Athena played forever in the IEM Cologne, he did take teleport, I believe, against Lissandra, against specific double engage comps, just for the flexibility of teleporting around. But against Rek'Sai Lissandra, taking that cleanse seems very, very necessary, and he does change.
Yeah, curious. So, all right, we are going to see some Coup Tigers, or, well, technically right, Coup Tigers staples here with Kennen and Varus and Corki from last year. All these players definitely known for these particular picks. They put it together into a pick composition.
But it's not Tank Wars up the top this time, Monty. Ryze versus Kennen.
I like it.
Kennen as an answer to Ryze is interesting. I mean, you can see the potential. Elise and Kennen get their CC off. Burst damage will be real. But this is going to be a spicy one around the top lane. Expect to see Score and Peanut rotate extensively around Someday and Smith.
True, and Fly, eyes on him too, because how are you going to stop this poke composition? The answer is through the use of Lissandra, TP, and flank, and that's something that Fly was very inconsistent with in the last game. He managed to close out the game with it, but only after a few missed opportunities.
Teleport flanks with the Shen riding as well. Could be interesting.
Could be. So a good game on our hands. KT wants to team fight this one out, scale with that Ryze, and Rocks Tigers, they want to siege up early, disengage with all their CC, try and poke down some objectives. I'm looking forward to watching this one. We are about to get into the final third game of this very exciting series between KT and the Tigers. Let's get into game 3. Third time's the charm, Papa Smithy.
That's what they wanted to roll. We've been wondering this whole time.
Okay. Game 3, KT Rolster rocks Tigers to round out our first series of the night. More Korean League of Legends to come with Spenu versus CJ Entus.
And look, we're back to the traditional Monte Cristo poke versus pick. That's what
Love
we're
it.
seeing.
Love it. Lots of strong targets for a score to gank.
Peanut also. CC in mid lane after level 6, then obviously very early from Smeb. Will we see the standard lane swap that has been the story in the first 2 games? With Arrow walking top lane, looking likely.
I think we will, Papa Smithy. I think we will see yet another lane swap, but these lane swaps have been pretty exciting compared to some of the other ones we have been witnessing here in Korea in the early parts of the 2016 season. Fly and Kuro having a fun stare down. Kuro actually not using the Varus skin. He usually uses the Cupid Varus skin.
He's all business today.
What is it, Heartseeker Varus? Is that what it's called?
Heartseeker Varus. Yes, that's correct. Look at you,
I don't know skin names,
he says, after correctly saying the skin name.
but I had to guess.
Your knowledge of both the skin names and the lore betrays you, Monte Cristo.
I didn't actually know that. I guess it was Heartseeker Varus. I just know what Riot rips things off from.
What
So,
did they rip it off from?
Cupid.
It's public domain, right?
Yeah, at this point, I think the authorship of Greek and Roman mythology is probably copyright free
Man,
at this point.
If you had the trademark on that,
2,500 years later.
the trademark on that, you'd be doing well. So when we saw Athena playing this mid Varus, he was definitely the one to bring it back on this preseason patch, I guess now season patch, 6.1. He was playing it into the Lulu. It was all about the fact that you could match the line wave clear that Lulu has with her Glitter Lance just with your Q from safe range as you get levels. And just it was a very safe laning phase. And Lissandra, again, short range, but has good good wave clear. And Varus can match that, doesn't feel pressured with the cleanse, theoretically can get out of ganks. And then in the late game, does that damage wave clear and poke from off the screen and potentially really outranges Lissandra.
Yeah, and couple that with the majority magic damage coming out of Corki, and this is a very difficult poke composition to itemize against.
Health is about your best bet.
Yep. And KT, not going to have a whole lot of tanks this game. Certainly no tank in the top side. So Someday there now, alongside Hachani, will be working away on that turret. Smeb joining up with his 80 carries and support in the bottom lane. Deep ward already placed for the Tigers in between the turrets, so they can keep eyes on whomever is coming their way and what the timing on the transition back into the bottom lane will be.
The big thing for KT, once we see his outer turrets go out, down in top and mid, so top and bot, sorry, is denying blue buff from Kuro. If you can take away blue.
Peanut walking up, Cocoon not going to miss. Quick sidestep from Fly.
This is the Q as well from Kuro, so actually surprisingly healthy from Fly as turrets go down in top and bot, but the mana costs for Kuro are the big thing. Even if you pick up Tia, you need blue buff control to make Varus have the ability to spam down that wave clear. So if KT can contest Kuro's blue, that might actually give that little oomph to actually take the mid turret and deny Varus from just safe farming from out of range.
We'll check on that as an objective as the game drags on. Kuro using that rain of arrows there, trying to get some zone presence and certainly winning the HP battles. Fly actually going to trade the Ring of Frost and then an E just out of range of the piercing arrow of Kuro.
You might be wondering how he can opt in such aggressive trades. The Corrupting Potion against both pots already being used from Fly means that he's just winning the auto attack trades with the bonus damage from the Corrupting Potion and just the War of Attrition with the extra sustain he had picked up.
Yeah, very nice. Forces an early TP, so one less option for a possible dive here in the bottom side. Score seen out by a ward. He doesn't know that Hachani is lurking in his Tri-Brush. Score will drop a pink and clear it out. Coming back for the Tri-Brush himself. Smeb, only level 3, and here's Hachani. Sees him, dashes out, and flash for flash. But a good trade for follow-up dives against Smeb.
Now Smeb, slightly more easy to shut down. Before level 6, not able to ult and run away, so now he only has the speed up that he gives from his Lightning Rush. Let's push down some outer turrets in the top and bot lane, Monty.
I love it. This is my favorite part of League of Legends.
Yay! Turrets die and nobody else.
That's right. This is the perfect game so far. 0 kills, only turrets dying.
to really work through. And maybe I should recommend a psychologist to work through your anger at turrets.
My anger at turrets?
You just don't like them very much.
I just love champions staying alive. I would rather see structures destroyed than human lives, Papa Smithy.
Well,
and also the lives of spider people and minotaurs.
Well, you do seem to be the pacifist compared to Doa's bloodthirstiness, so I guess that makes sense.
It's okay. Yordles can die, though. I don't care about them.
We do have Smeb in this game. That's why when Kennen was getting dived, like, just kill the Yordle.
That's right. Corki and Kennen, whatever. I don't care what happens to them.
So, biased KT fan as always.
Yordles aren't people, Papa Smithy.
I'll remember that. As Kuro, lower mana, hasn't had time to go back and get his blue buff. Because of the cleanse, he doesn't have the ability to go back and get topped up so easily. So, finding a lot of punishment. That's a lot of members in mid.
Yeah, not going to actually land damage, however, just covering for Kuro, who hasn't had the time to recall quite yet and was running quite low as a result of the pressure applied by Fly going back for his items, refillable potion among them, and the teleport. So that's going to net him a little bit of a CS advantage at the end of the day. Everything else pretty even. As we look around to our various lanes, Arrow finding slightly more CS, but this wave pushed up means Smeb is going to get a little bit. Score there once again to try and deny it the wave. But Chani going to come in. Peanut has to flash. Chain of Corruption coming over the wall, but there is Smeb. Goodbye. Right into a chain CC. Hachani drops Smeb in the end. Gets the kill even though he doesn't have Ignite. Fly now on the backside. Fly's going to pay for this as Kuro comes around. No chain of... Oh, and Hachani the Pulve right into the cocoon.
Gorilla's understanding of the range of Pulverize was super impressive there. He was not directly on top of his enemy, but knew the range, got the kill. It was really good to see them walk past the kill. They knew they'd got on Fly and look for more, and that's the sign of a top team. You're never going to take the minimum. You're always going to push for that extra edge.
Yeah, and just great reaction there from the Tigers. Looked like they wouldn't have been able to do much after the early Chain of Corruption, but they punish the dive play. They correctly read that KT would be gunning for Smeb after trading flashes a little bit earlier on, and now we see Prey pushed up. Does have a few wards. Gorilla and Peanut there to protect him. So only Smeb dying, but Rise needs time, and with the game as close as it is, that's some nice farm that he got solo on the bottom side while his allies did the work.
Really want to see ROX Tigers take a page out of Longzhu, and specifically his Chaser's book. You remember Longzhu versus Jin Air on the second day of the season where So1 picked Fiora and they just mercilessly ganked her and played around her lack of presence in the early game. Rise is still at very much the formative stage. There should be no safe farming for Rise if ROX Tigers is really on their game.
Well, there's going to be safe farming for Rise, at least for now, with 4 members of KT in the bottom, and they get a transition it. There's the package. Fly gets out of there, the double Valkyrie.
What about using the package onto Lissandra, of all people?
And here we go. Score going to come in from the mid lane. Will be turned away as you see Kuro. And now here's the dive from Gorilla. They get the kill right away. Hachani left by himself in the mid lane is not going to fall. And here comes Someday. Exhaust dropped on him, but he takes a kill onto Prey. Hachani nearly dying right there. Trying to gank over the wall. Kuro burned his flash pretty quickly, but they turn it around 1 for 1.
That's 2 games in a row where Fly has died with ultimate available. It was ult Zhonya's last time, only ult this time, but needs to be a bit quicker on that trigger.
Absolutely. He has been surprised on a couple of these occasions, but has to be able to hit his ultimate. You know, having a binding the self-ult on Lissandra when you play her, usually a pretty damn good idea. Makes it quite fast.
Looked like for a second there Someday might pick up a blue buff, but no such luck. Fly picks it up.
Who needs to stack tier anyway?
Nope.
Smithing.
No stacking allowed.
So Someday actually went in for a pretty early tier this game. A lot of time we see Catalyst into tier just for safety, but considering the lack of threat on Rise, and now the fact that he has a kill to go with it.
But you get the story of this game encapsulated in the item pickups. Double stacking from Someday. Rush of the Sorcerer's Boots from Smeb, so he's got damage quick.
Yeah.
He's looking for that first ult to really ravage a team fight.
Yeah, gotta take that edge right now and keep on running with it. Fly once again over the wall with his Glacial Path.
Probably going to see quick Distortion Boots as well. Kennen is a very flash gated champion. He really needs that flash to be able to get in, get the right positioning on the ult, specifically before level 16, where popping your ult has enough bolts to actually CC a team on its own, rather than actually having to get a weave of spells in before you get that CC effect.
Yeah, and with the siege coming down, crashing now into KT's mid lane turret. Attempted a clear there, but they get some chip damage. And we really see the story of this game told in who is getting the side farm. Look at this, Prey, early power spike, looking for the Trinity Force, trying to catch up and even exceed Arrow right now. In the meantime, Someday freezing by himself. And like you noticed, Papa Smithy, that Sork Shoes betraying an early game from Smeb, and that's going to be echoed in Corki's build too. So even though they have this tier, which needs some time to scale, he's still doing some decent poke. Hachani once again caught out in the front line.
The base damages from Varus are massive. He's not even level 9. He doesn't even have the max ability levels in his Q, but the moment he hits level 9 and gets blue buff, he'll just continue to rain harass. And the ROX Tigers, they know what they need to do. They need to open up an advantage before the scaling from Someday is confirmed, and drawing out teleports is a good start to that.
Get the teleport right out of Fly, chunk him immediately as he lands in the mid lane.
And the next time we see that siege around mid is going to be with a Trinity Force Corki and a no-stack Rod of Ages Rise, and that's definitely landslide in the advantage of the ROX Tigers.
Yeah, smart play. They're going to take a Dragon too, so they can start putting the clock on that particular objective. Herald will be the cross-map answer here from KT. Score once again getting it.
Score is the master of the Rift Herald.
He's like, I have to get this 10% movement speed buff. It is so valuable to me right now.
Wait to see who actually picks it up. Has been Jungler's Paradise for some reason.
It's like, I need to farm faster, guys. Sorry.
He got it. He got the Rift Herald. Thank God that Score picked up the Rift Herald.
There is an argument to be made that with the wave clear on the ROX Tigers, that Rift Herald actually isn't doing anything in a lane. So maybe you just go ahead and give it for that quicker jungle clear, but I still think that 3 Rift Heralds on Score so far this series has been a bit excessive.
That's, I think, a fair point. Absolutely. Smeb, Abyssal Scepter, Sorcerer's Shoes is what he's looking for. And look at this, a really fast rush. Now, some people might wonder, why is Varus back? Because you think, okay, Last Whisper, objectively nerfed, almost a non-factor in most games. The build used to be Mana Moon into Last Whisper, very cheap build. You get armor penetration now from this more Malmortius. It also gives you very useful stats when the shield is popped. You get that attack speed, lifesteal, and spell vamp. So it just actually fits Varus really well. And then Ghostblade also is a big factor. It's Hachani smelling around for a flank in the back.
Yeah, it does see Hachani get found out right. He walks into a brush. Hachani, is just dead as he face checks a brush with a pink ward in it. And what can only just be described as the most Hachani thing possible. Had a nice flank there, and then it all fell apart, and that means mid-turret goes down for the Tigers.
He started off the season with a face check, and in this game here, this series had 2 quintessential Hachani moments. We don't have OQ moments anymore, so Hachani's filling that void for us.
Of amusement. Arrow there, dashing over, puts some pain onto Prey. Smeb now, they're looking to smoothly transition this into a top lane inner, their first tier 2 of the game here, and that would be quite quick at 15 minutes, but Someday eats a huge amount of damage as the Tigers keep on rolling with their poke composition. It's perfect timing. Prey with a 14-minute Trinity Force. He went back and got it with that all the minion gold he got from the freeze, as well as the kill and the assist, and is now immediately translated into pressure. This is a fantastic execution of poke from the ROX Tigers.
There keep going.
Goodbye, Hachani. Oh, does escape. But here we go, another turret. Sub 15 minutes, 4 down now for the Tigers. They are well on their way, and what an excellent power spike by the Tigers.
And we talked about KT stealing away Kuro's blue buff. Nope, it's the other way around. ROX Tigers have had all the control. They're the ones controlling the enemy blue buff. And it's just so hard to communicate how powerful Varus's poke is this early in the game. It's so hard to itemize against Trinity Force Corki and this Varus because the turret damage is confirmed with the Trinity Force procs, and each Q, you're doing what? A third of everyone's health in a line physical damage that can wave clear, that can poke multiple people. Varus is the only champion that can do that, barring maybe the most opportunistic of EQ combos from a Jace.
Yeah. And Smeb finally getting some farm in this game. He has actually surpassed Someday, though. And Fly gets knocked around. There's a TP coming in. Bray actually going to come in with a package. Gorilla has to tank part of that culling, but here's Peanut. Drops onto Hachani and grabs the kill. Gorilla on the follow-up, and Smeb just destroys Fly, who gets caught within the slicing maelstrom and is sliced.
And there's a minion wave and a turret. Goodbye, turret. Goodbye, second inner turret of the game.
This is just excellent play from the Tigers.
Turret genocide, Monty.
Oh, God. Poor turrets.
They never stood a chance.
Actually, I don't care about the turrets either.
I know, you made that very clear.
If anything, Rock's Tigers have gotten too many kills this game.
It's not clean enough for you.
It's not.
Bring back Jin.
It's too dirty.
Bring back Jin versus SKT game 1.
That's right. I only accept 1 kill every 5 minutes of the game. This is too many.
Really? That's actually progressive from you. You were a 1 kill every 10-minute man beforehand. Adjusting expectations.
I have adjusted my expectations to the new patch, the new season, which does bring slightly more kills with it, with a downgrade in the vision. But speaking of vision, this is probably the Tigers' best vision game so far in this series.
Look at that conga line between the enemy base and the dragon. That is a lot of vision. Of course, there was a lot of fighting and skirmishing around there. Smeb picking up a kill. One thing I want to touch on with KT's itemization.
Gank top. Sorry, Papa.
Oh,
here we go.
Smeb's,
Score. And Someday are easily going to kill Smeb.
He was
Someday.
He was really in a bad way.
Yeah, he was in a very bad way. Caught out with 0 vision. So just as I praised the vision, that's a Smeb overextension.
Should have stuck with the conga line.
Yeah, gotta be by your conga wards.
But I mean, in terms of itemization, Rise, quintessential scale champion, Tier and Rod of Ages coming through. You look down at Lucian, 1 item power spike of the Essence Reaver is minimal. It's all about that second item, whereas Abyssal Scepter, instant damage upgrades coming through from Roxas.
What?
Oh, flashes.
That was a mistake. He was probably trying to type out a timer right there on the flash.
He actually takes a Q and E as a result from Kuro.
The rage use of abilities by Kuro.
Maybe they were having
he was trying to make him feel better. He's like, oh, I accidentally used my Q and E, so that Gorilla wouldn't have to say that he accidentally used the flash.
I like to think they were having a running race, and because he has distortion boots, he gets that extra movement speed after he flashes. So credit,
nice.
Got there first to the middle of the mid lane. This poke damage, insane.
Yeah, fortunately for Gorilla, actually, as far as Alistar's go, he doesn't need his flash that badly because he's mostly just playing defense.
He's
in
the
this
goalkeeper.
game. Yeah, he doesn't actually have to go in.
He's
so
absolutely.
It's not the end of the world if he doesn't have his flash. It's a lot less meaningful than if he had to engage.
Well, squishiest double AD backline to fend people away from. Waiting for the flank. Oh,
Johnny's on a mission, so is Fly. Fly coming around with his CP. This is it. They're going to go in on this. E over the wall. Not going to be taking Gorilla up. Ready to pull.
Johnny has flash. Taunt flash is a possibility, but the scaling items means that opting to team fight is so risky from KT. They will lose the majority of their base if they misfire.
Yeah, can't do it, so instead they buy themselves some more time. Their turret about 50% right now, but the Tigers undeterred. They keep moving forward. They still have a lot of wards on that right side flank, so they're going to see Hachani, and they're going to see here Lysandra coming in, but nope, no action. Smeb actually gets chunked low, very low, but the Chain of Corruption stops Arrow from getting into it. Fly with the engagement, ults himself, and as the Ring of Frost already down, Fly going to fall before the Shen ult can continue channeling. So they trade 1 for 1, and there's the final shot. Sniped. Now Peanut comes through. The Flash Cocoon doesn't hit, as Someday flashes that in return, but KT will survive through that without losing an inhibitor turret, which is probably a win in this situation.
Definitely some misfires on the side of Rocks, but they get the extra kill, but as you mentioned, not the all-important inhibitor turret. That's going to start to heal ever so slightly as scores coming in. gangbusters fast.
Yes, he is. Ult used. He's going to get stunned up, so no follow-up to that attempt. He still wants to take a little more damage to his face.
Waiting for more people to come around and try and take away this dragon that would deny an early 5th dragon stack from Rox. You know, get that answering dragon, get those 6% stats, hold out the game, buy more time. The longer this game goes, the closer Sunday's going to be to his 6-item stage.
Yep, they get that dragon. So no more quick stacking here from the Tigers. Fly moves in to clear out these minions. He's working himself towards, of course, Ezonia's Hourglass. Just skipping the Frost Queen's Claim this time, going for Morello Nomicon first.
I've got to say that moving away from the Victors and Luxes of the world has proved very painful for specifically Fly. In the last game, he did have a very good engage to end the game, but was again struggling in terms of the KDA. This game, 0-4-2. Maybe he's just spent so much time practicing at those 1100 plus range champions that when it comes to Lissandra, well, you have to be so much more specific. He's been slow on the self-ults, he's been slow on the summoners, and been punished by the Rox Tigers.
He has. He's also been camped by Peanut, though,
Sure.
so there are other aspects to his play. In both games, he suffered quite a few mid lane ganks. And a lot of focus, of course, with the poke composition from Rox on the mid lane in this one. So instead, the Tigers will switch it up, move over to the last remaining Tier 2 turret, try and take this easier objective down instead. Gorilla with the face tank on the culling to keep his wave alive, and that'll be enough to take one more tower for the Tigers. And now this is where it gets tough for these poke compositions. 20 minutes.
How tough are you sure about them, Monty?
They're getting a lot of damage, I guess. No one actually going to be going in, so they're just going to give it up. All right.
No clear call from KT. They didn't want to initiate. Lissandra didn't take in the Glacial Path, and they're going to watch more objectives fall if they don't do something quick.
They have to do something right now, but the poke is still doing so much. Another E threatened, but Gorilla every time is standing on the end of the claw. There's the Chain of Corruption. Achani eats a big piercing arrow, and that's not going to work either. Actually gets it that time. What a great reaction from Gorilla. He gets it right at the end. Achani onto Kuro in the backline, but this is not the fight that KT wanted. Goodbye, absolutely everybody. Ace for the Tigers, and they have played a stunning poke comp in this game. And that is going to be them pushing onto the inhib turrets at 22 short minutes into this game. What an incredibly executed game from the Tigers.
Can you ask for it to be any more clean in that last team fight, or just over the course of this 23-minute dismantling of KT Rolster? They made it look easy. They returned to the pressure comps that looked so good a week ago, and even against much tougher opposition. It's clean, it's great, it's wonderful from the Rox Tigers.
That was one of the best strategic executions that I have seen in League of Legends, Papa Smithy.
The timings with the Trinity Force Corki, we talked about Trinity Force Corki. Ryze shows up with a Rod of Ages with one stack, watches turrets go down. They played around Ryze, 100% picked or banned, 1-0 before this game. Suddenly, 50%, and if you have the game plan, play around the Fiora, play around the Ryze, because you can make it look easy.
How did Gorilla know that Fly was following up on that E? His reaction was incredibly fast after all the other ones.
If anything, it was the least likely one to follow up because the objective had already gone down.
Exactly, wow. Gorilla again playing a game specifically around the Lissandra, doing a beautiful job tonight in terms of his engagements, but that time knowing exactly what his job was and zoning out so that his poke line could do the maximum amount of damage. What a beautiful game from the Tigers, and a close series tonight, but ultimately Rox takes it 2-1. KT gets their first match loss of the season.
2 close games and 1 stomp, so you have to say the Rox Tigers, think of the momentum they take out of this game. They are now 2-0 in game score. KT Rolster fall to 2-1. The middle of this table, the top 4 are so close. Anyone can beat anyone after Jin Air took out SKT. And that just means so many more exciting games after some real lack of parity in previous seasons in 2015.
Yeah, and for the Tigers, first tough opponent this week cleared out. Longzhu will be their second on Saturday. Up next will be Spenu versus CJ. So stick around for our concluding best of 3 of the evening. We'll be back in just a few minutes.